Hello and welcome to episode 29 of Flesh and Pod. My name is Abbie and I am your host. With me, as always, are Logan and Jordan. So, Logan, we'll let you start it off. What did you do in Flesh and Blood this weekend?
Fucking irrelevant. Jordan?
Literally nothing.
Fucking irrelevant. Abby?
So I went a pre-release this weekend.
The champ is here!
The champ is here. Whoop steps out of retirement and 5-0's pre-release.
Yeah, I just decided to skull a pre-release like it's nothing. Just walk on in and just torture everybody and incinerate their dreams.
The best in our most competitive store too. And she
just comes in and like, no, I'm just gonna slap fools. That's fine. Like
basically.
So what did you play? What were your MVPs? What did you play? How did it feel?
So it felt really good. I've never won a tournament or of any kind before. So that was super cool. Okay, Jordan. So after round 5, funny story. So we finish and Jordan has finished his match and I walk up to him and I go, "We need to go outside." And so he thinks I lost and I'm like angry about something.
Upset, yeah.
And the guy
or somebody was rude.
Well, right. Sure. And the guy
but the person she played was very kind, so.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, sorry.
But so I make him go outside and we walk like away from the windows where you can see, and I start doing like a happy dance, and because I know I can't do it in the store, but like right. I'm stoked. I've never done anything before. And then Jordan was like, "Oh, since you won, like, are you gonna play more?" And I was like, "No."
See, like,
I'll just take this win and
so right now, like, my joy for your happiness is just far exceeds anything I could have for myself. But so how many wins did you have?
5.
5 wins. How many losses did you have?
0.
So I think that makes it a perfect record. Jordan, is that a perfect record?
I think let me crunch the numbers real quick here. I need my abacus, but I'm pretty sure
5 wins and 0 losses.
Yeah,
any draws in there? No draws?
No,
just
nope.
5.
Slide that abacus number down.
Just a strict 5-0ing. So what did you play?
Clean sweep.
I played Fai.
Okay.
I played against 1 Icelander and 4 mirrors.
That sounds about right.
So I have no idea how Drama plays or anything like that. I haven't seen any yet. But yeah, so it was really good. All of my mirror matches were very close.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were both down to like 1-2, and it was just whoever could get the
the dual Kodachi lock.
Through. Yep. But yeah, it was awesome.
So what was the card that struck you the most as like the thing that was helping the most in the matchups and kind of got you through?
God. So, well, in game 5, the winner was, I don't remember the card name, but it's the attack reaction. So
the
I
+3 +0 +1.
Yeah, that was the +3.
Rapid reflexes, I think. Yep.
That sounds right. I hadn't seen another one at all.
Yeah, it's a rare.
And I had 2, and I think the other one I had was a blue, so I just, used it for money. But
pitched it, yeah.
I like drew that at the perfect time. Played my.
They didn't play around it. Yeah, they didn't play around it, and you got them. Yep. You didn't have an Uprising or anything crazy like that? Any of the like insane bombs?
No. On Friday, everything I had was common or rare.
On Saturday, your 5-0 day.
Saturday, yeah.
Or yeah. I didn't play Friday.
Yeah. So a couple of things, like I it's pretty easy to look at the things and see that Fai is a very is the best baseline for a deck, I think, in limited. Yeah. But the one thing that I will mention about Fai is people will sleep on how hard he gets to pilot when you start getting into those narrow situations that you're talking about. So the fact that you were able to play that many mirrors and win all of them really does speak to beating the Fai skill cap. So congrats. Like, Jesus, that's good.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup.
Work.
It really is. Talks about how it's dice rolly, and I don't know if it really is.
It isn't.
I only had one game the whole weekend that was dice rolly, and it was against Jordan on Sunday, and it was.
Oh, listen, the one she lost, she thought was fucking dice rolly.
I lost another one on Sunday too, but Jordan's was the only one that wasn't close, and Jordan was like turn 2 played Uprising and then like 15 cards. And
Oh yeah, well
that was
yeah,
kind of it.
okay.
Yeah.
Like that's
right.
Again, that's what I'm talking about with like the bombs. Like Uprising is definitely a bomb. Like
Yes.
Yeah.
that card swings combat so fucking hard.
Stick that baby in your arsenal and just go nuts the next turn. Like
yeah, and remember that Keith of Keith's Case had 2 of them in his premier pool. So, just in case one Uprising isn't good enough, open 2.
Yeah, like there was a lot of discourse in the Columbus community about if you're Fai and you win the die roll and get to go second, you probably are vastly ahead of your opponent in the mirror. I like going second a lot, actually, because you do break tempo. But I do think there is more of a skill cap than I think pre-release weekend showed us.
Agreed.
And I think there is more of a skill cap in draft than there will be in sealed.
I can also speak to that pretty highly because I've now drafted it 3 times.
Yeah, we drafted Friday, and then there was a top 8 draft at the Realm on Sunday, but
sure,
I wasn't in it because I suck.
Oh,
yeah, neither of us were.
So we'll walk it back after. I just wanted the champ to get her piece.
Go ahead.
That's important. Like I think that calling out that accomplishment is a big thing because it's highlighting those mirrors and piloting these decks is not just and building these decks is not just as simple as shove it together and go. That is not how this works at all.
No.
So I just wanted to make sure that you got your time there because damn, that's an accomplishment.
No, I was telling Jordan. So we were talking about it afterwards, and we were talking about like who, do you go first or second? And he was like, "Yeah, I definitely think you go second." And I was like, "I went first every single time."
Yeah. So there is something to be said about deck composition and whether or not you go first or second.
Sure.
And so if you're sitting on a bunch of the 0 block for 2s with go again in your deck, you almost want to go first just to start forcing cards out of their hand. I found myself with 5 playing 34, 35 cards so that if I was put on the play a decent amount of the time, I can actually play into kind of a pseudo fatigue plan by just shoving as hard as I could. Mm-hmm. And it worked out. Like I didn't lose many 5 mirrors at all after the Uprising sealed. I will say that going back to Jordan and I's just piddling fucking performances, that on Sunday I played 2 pre-releases. The first one, my pool was it was the old adage of if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. I had 3 decks, so I had none. And went 4 rounds. I went 2-2. I played every hero. I just tried every deck. And it was just kind of bad, but all you really needed to do was go into the top half to make some significant prizes, or, decent prizes at least. And so that was good. The second one, like I opened a fairly decent Fai pool that time, or sorry, Icelander pool that time. I'm sorry. And I did lose to a Fai who had like the superior pool to take first place in the sealed. So I went 3-1 there, but really the goal in that sealed was to finish in the top half because then the tournament split off into 2 different 8-man pods, 8-person pods, however. And in one of those pods was the top 8 were drafting for and playing for Uprising packs, and the other one were playing for Crucible packs. So getting into the top 8 portion draft was actually the more important part. But that's where Dagon decided to force dragons. And so I lost to the 9 Dragon Dromai draft deck. Spoiler
first
alert.
one you see and keep going, I guess.
9 of them is a lot. And I think that's got to be, so the average from everything I've been able to calculate so far, the average number of dragons in a box is 5.5. And so 9 is probably never going to happen. So, and these packs did not necessarily come out of the same box. So that type of draft deck, I'm pretty sure is an outlier, but were
these just, hey, bring your Lucy's or?
No. The store had actually done something really cool. And they had taken the packs out of the boxes and then just sealed them in team bags. So 3 packs per team bag. And then half the team bags had the promos in them so they could hand people a package, right? And make it a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. But that also made it so that the boxes were mixed when you got the product potentially.
Okay.
And so I think that that's what happened. And that kind of leads me to believe that from like the boxes are intended to be drafted out of the same box because that many dragons is just not tenable to try to play against in most cases, especially when I think 3 of them were 0 cost dragons that do some pretty fantastic things. I mean, all of them do some pretty fantastic things. Like Necria is just a beefy dragon. A 4/7's not fun. That keeps making ash tokens is not a good time. So played, and then that one I drafted Fai, and there were 5 Fai decks being drafted to the table of 8 drafters. So 5 Fai, 2 Icelander, and 1 Dromai. And I had the best Fai deck at the table because I really put a lot of emphasis on the go agains. Mm-hmm. I think most people were also trying to go for the splashies and taking a lot of the 2 drops, which not so much. Don't do that.
Those are $1 billion. So, why would you want those?
Yeah, they cost. Yeah, in this economy, fuck that. So have you seen the price of gas? Like, I'm not paying that. So I was and my only loss was to 9 Dragon Dromai. So I reasonably well. Jordan, how was your piddling performance compared to your significant other?
I played quite a few pre-releases. I'm really happy that I got to go out and do it, because this is very much a thing that in my world I would absolutely cancel the day of. So I did 2 drafts on Friday night. Went to a store in Chillicothe, Ohio, which if you're not from Ohio or not familiar with people here, you have no idea where it is. It is in between nowhere and nowhere on your way to Cincinnati.
I would say, as a person from Ohio, I also cannot tell you what part of the state it's in.
It's like,
on your way to Portsmouth.
Okay.
Oh no, it's southeast. Yeah.
I'd say it's pretty far. It's kind of like you kind of bend around Indianapolis to get to it.
Have you been down that way?
When we drive through to get to Columbus, which we'll be doing on Thursday, we see the turnoff for it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, it's a small store. It's also serves as like an esports cafe, which is really cool for that area because it's relatively still pretty rural, and it serves as a good place. Yeah. It serves as a good place for like kids to come and be on the internet after school and like play games like League of Legends and Smite and shit like that. And like, it's a really neat like space. In addition to being a TCG LGS. So they did a 4-round draft of Uprising. And afterwards, he gave out a really generous prize support. I went 3-1 in that and got, I think I got 10 packs, maybe got 8 for 3-1. And then he was like, "Hey, I have more stuff and I can't sell it. So why don't we just run back a draft?" And everybody was like, "Yeah, sure." So we just drafted again. Yeah. And it was all part of his pre-release allotment. So we didn't feel weird doing it. And then I 3-1'd that one as well. So it felt pretty good. I drafted Fai the first time, and then Icelander the second time. Jim was being weird that weekend, and we got paired with the exact same people. Yeah, we got paired with the exact same people in both drafts in the exact same order. It was really strange. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm operating Jim the way I normally do. Just like go with it, I guess." It was really weird. Saturday, I played the same pre-release as Abbie. Like you said, I had 2 quarterbacks, and classic sealed experience of like 80% of the way to 2 okay decks. And really couldn't make either of them work. I played the wrong one initially. I played a Dromai deck that really kind of just lacked. It had all of the support pieces and none of the juice.
The punch. Yep.
Yeah, and then I switched to an Icelander deck that had a lot of the juice but none of the support pieces, and kind of like I went 2 and 3, and one of those was a bye. So that should tell you how well that went. Yeah. I won 1 match with Icelander. But it was kind of just a rough pool, and I built it wrong initially. So maybe there was some outplay there that I didn't pick up on. Sunday I played at the Realm, which we'll talk about in a little bit for Keith's pre-release, which was a lot of fun. It's actually the first event.
Keith's Case?
Yeah, Keith from Keith's Case fame. Yeah. Okay. And Jacob from Keith's Case fame. I'm sure Keith's brother doesn't like being known as Jacob from Keith's Case fame.
Well, he is now, so it doesn't really matter.
Jacob, yeah,
that's right.
So I've never played an event there at their store. Actually, I've been up a couple of times now. Like, he's given me a tour and like hung out with him, but I've never played an event. They're so well ran. The price support was really generous. He gave out a door pack of 6 packs that I won. Really just like rolled some bones, and I was the guy.
You were the bones.
Yeah, I was the bones. He gave out a pack of Uprising to everybody as a door prize. LSS had like incorrectly or something given him some extra promos and like told him that he could just keep them, so he gave them away. And they weren't Uprising promos; they were like older stuff. but like he just gave them away as like, it's just like, every store has stuff that they just fucking have.
Yeah, and it's just like, that's just instructive of how Keith is. Just
Like, he could have sold these on eBay and he didn't. Yeah.
He's trying to give back at all points in time. Like, this is why we support the realm and we support Keith and Keith K's fame. Like,
it's
just a good dude that does the right thing all the time. Like, so just kind of
life is a free roll with Keith. Yeah, so it's cool.
I don't know. We gotta be careful on that, but
no, I always like to say the phrase like, with friends like mine, life is a free roll. So like, that's the vein I mean it in. But so I went 2 and 3 in that, and like I don't really feel good about it. I played Fai. 2 of my losses were to Icelander, and like just got ice for frostbitten locked, and that kind of sucked. And like my deck was really powerful. Like I said, I had an Uprising that Abbie alluded to. We met in the 0-1 bracket, so that was a treat.
A delight, as it were.
Yeah. Lost the 5 mirror to a friend of the show, Chris. I'm not gonna
C-dubs
dox him. So yeah, C-dubs in the Discord.
Dox him. We have his address and phone number right here. Anybody that wants it, just go ahead and email us at fleshpod.
His credit card CVV number in the show notes below, so go ahead and check him out. Just Google the Mansfield zip code and you got the whole deal.
You got him. You got him.
That was an interesting mirror match of the 5 mirror, because I went for, I lost the die roll. He elected to go second, which we had all kind of like at that point de facto agreed was correct. But I did 15 on my first turn. I'm sorry, not 15, 5 on my first turn, through like a full block through him. Mm-hmm. So I felt like I had like at least didn't lose the tempo that you gained by going first. I ended in the 5 specialization that you reveal Draconic Chainlink cards, number of cards equal to Draconic Chainlinks.
The Rupture spell.
And like deal damage equal to the number of reds you reveal.
Point?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And that revealed 3 and was a nice little cap to like a pretty decent turn.
3.
Yeah. So he ended up winning that one, and I won a couple of other matches throughout the day. But so 2 and 3 on the last day. 2 and 3 the day before, 3 and 1s in drafts. I definitely like drafting a lot. I get where the sealed feels wonky. We talked about that after Vegas.
Dromite is kind of a hero with a blank text box in sealed at times, unless you just have to happen to open the nuts Dromite pool.
Yeah. Making Ashen draft felt so easy.
Oh, it's like fucking simplistic.
Yeah, and in sealed, I don't think there was a Dromite player on Sunday at the Realm. There might have been one, and I'm misremembering. But it was cool because we have a lot of listeners in Mansfield, so I got to chat with a lot of listeners that I hadn't met before.
That's great. I guess I'll meet them soon.
Yeah, you're going to see them this weekend, which we'll talk about. But it was nice. It was a nice weekend, man. I played a lot of Flesh and Blood. Like I texted you yesterday, 18 rounds of Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, 18 rounds. Yeah, I played 11 yesterday, and I'm like, God, I'm a punk bitch compared to that. Like 18's a lot.
I'm a tuckered out little boy. Abbie got the 5002 life, so she's a full grinder now of the highs and lows of this fucking
the
life.
Highs and lows, the peaks and valleys.
Yeah,
Jordan told me before I went in. He was like, I know you won yesterday, but like, that's not. And I was like, again, that is just great. I'm just happy that I got to play. So,
well, I know my wife is a very competitive person, right? And she was like talking about like, she was on a heater, and I was like, listen, I've done this for a long time. These games will rip your fucking heart out.
They don't give a
shit. And then what you're gonna do the next week? You're gonna spend more money and do it again because you're fucking addicted.
Yeah, because you're fucking addicted.
Yeah.
It's understanding that relationship that makes it, that lets you keep your humanity.
It's
because otherwise, otherwise you turn into a garbage trash human that just shits on the joy of everything around you. So you have to understand that your relationship to the addiction, otherwise all things just go to hell.
Yep. Like you're not good. Just breathe in and exhale, and it's fine.
Yep.
But anyway, I had a great weekend. So,
or if you're Dagan White, just play Metazoo, and then you'll learn what a heater isn't.
That's right. Oh my god.
That's right.
Daggers.
Well,
y'all can Google that if you want to.
Because Dagan went undefeated at his first one, and I was like,
he 3. And yes, he did very well in Omaha.
Because I told Jordan, I was like, well, Dagan and I are like the same person now, so I too win outside.
So your GameStop portfolio is quite expansive. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
God,
murder me.
Yes.
All right, let's move this along.
Oh fuck, we did that. Okay.
All right, news and notes. So if you haven't listened to it yet, James White was on Instant Speed, so that is out for you to take a listen. But during that interview, we found out the name of the next set, and it is going to be Dynasty.
Yep. Two things I'd like to point out: that James White and I have several things in common, and one of them is being guests on the Instant Speed podcast. And the other ones are we're both over 5 foot tall. We both wear shoes at times. Like honestly, like we're running out of things already. But it was a telling interview at times. There were certain things that that felt a little danced around, but ultimately it was a very good piece for information for the player base. And letting us know kind of what's coming up. But the piece that's called Dynasty kind of feeds into already what we've seen in Uprising with the story. So we're starting to get some connective tissue with these sets and some of the lore, which is nice, because I think that this is an explorable IP for a variety of different things. The same as Magic did when some of its heyday, where it did novelizations and stuff like that. They're actually very good at times.
Well, Magic's books are great.
Stories. Yeah, some of them are very, very, very good. And the through line of the story was very, very good. And I think we have some of that starting to happen here in Flesh and Blood as well. And Dynasty kind of gives me that ring of like, okay, so we're not done with Fai and Dromai yet, or Icelander for that matter, or Shiana for that matter. So we're going to start seeing some stuff as far as these characters in the lore goes, and I think that's really cool. I know I can't remember if Uprising is the only draftable set we get in 2022, but I hope it isn't.
I don't think so.
I hope there is one more.
I think we get one more.
I hope so. I don't know if it'll be Dynasty, though. I think Dynasty sounds like a supplemental to Uprising to me, but we'll see. But that's if you haven't caught it yet, I mean, watch every episode of Instant Speed Podcast, but particularly the one that I was on. And Flake does a really good job of carrying that show along. His personality is infectious, so it's always a good listen, a good watch, however you want you absorb your content. But this one, whenever James is on, or whenever Josh is on, who's the whenever any of the LSS folks are on, it's a time to sit up and pay attention a little bit, because you're going to get some information that you didn't have before.
James, sorry, go ahead.
You're fine.
I think I'm lagging a little bit, so I apologize.
Yeah, something about you, your internet doesn't work and you're on your phone hotspot. So with this, I think that it's important to, he addresses some of the distribution woes and some of the other things that they've been seeing, and kind of alludes to almost a Fab 3.0 type of mindset with things in distribution and LGS particularly. So yeah, please, just go listen. It's worth your listen. It's worth your time. So give it a shot.
It's great because Matt takes community questions for this, and
yes, he does.
He got to a lot of the heart of them. Like you said, there was some dance around. I was particularly frustrated with the lead time for events answer. Like COVID was blamed, and like that's not an acceptable answer anymore. But there was also a lot of like in-depth answers on other things. So like, I mean, I want you to go watch it, so you should. Matt, like you said, Matt does a great interview, and then it's Josh. You said he's the rules guy, right?
I think so. Yeah,
yeah.
He's been on at least once.
Great.
So yeah, he is fantastic. So I still think I might be the longest episode in Instant Speed history.
Really?
But that's because I just talk too much. So mine is aggressively long. It's like an hour and 20 some minutes or something. Like it's.
Who would guess that?
Oh.
I do want you to know that I made a note to take a picture of my Simpsons poster, because I forgot until you talked about it again, and I'm like, okay, I got to do that after the show. You do,
because I got to send that to Matt. So, he'll freak out. It'll be hilarious. So
maybe we'll bring the scripts to Mansfield to show you guys.
You should, yeah. Matt would lose his shit. Or not.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to take them out and risk them getting damaged.
Well, everybody's staying in Columbus, so maybe. Well we would shoot them the envelopes and seal.
Different.
Yeah,
I am staying in Columbus, so
yeah.
And by Germantown, I think. So.
Oh, it's a dope part of town.
German Vigil, yeah. So great radio right now again. Back at it.
All right. Next up, notes from pre-release weekend. Do you have any additional notes? I think we covered a lot of it.
I think we hit that pretty hard, don't you?
I think we did too.
Like an electric hammer, we pounded the fuck out of it.
Wow.
The only disappointing thing for me, so I really wanted to play Icelander, and I never got. I mean, so neither of my pools were good enough. My pool on Sunday was like 6 blues, and I was like, oh.
Count your blues if it's plus or minus. Okay. If it's plus or minus 10, and from there, make your decision. Oh,
crack! That was a good one. That was a good crack.
Jordan,
it's a 2-beer show.
Oh, it's a 2-beer show.
God. You're gonna lose that privilege if you.
Sorry, I was making it. I was making a note of where I have to soften the crack.
If you fuck it up again, that just means Abbie gets another possum.
That's right.
You're
up to like definitely 8 now.
Back to you're like 5
possums.
Yeah. Okay. So, this coming weekend is the Brawl weekend at the Realm. Now, if you haven't seen it on Twitter or the Discord or the Realm's website or anywhere else that you can consume your content, with the delay of the Uprising release date, they kind of switched up what they're doing. So Saturday is a 10K classic constructed, no chain, no Starvo,
no Uprising
cards. So it's the only tournament in the current
literal meta. 1-week format. Yep, literally a 1-week format. For Ks.
Right. I was talking to one of my opponents at the event on Saturday, and he was talking about how he was trying to decide if he was going to go. He plays Prism. And I was like, this is the only time you're going to be able to play it without those two. So you absolutely should. Like,
yeah,
1,000%.
I mean, yes, you're losing 2 of your good matchups.
Right.
But
I don't even play Classic Constructed, but if I did, I would be there.
Right. Yeah. This is super interesting in a lot of ways because we do have a number of people who are among the better players that the game has that are showing up for this for a 1-week format for a not insignificant amount of money. So we're going to see some really odd things, and I kind of can't wait to see what people decide that is like optimum to play. Like, is it just Briar? Do we just try to run Channel Mount Heroic Briar into this? Are we Lexing people? Is old school Bravo back on the menu because Prism has to dial to a different axis? Is Viserai just playable? Is aggro Viserai playable? Like, we get to see 1 week of a brewer's paradise, an absolute brewer's paradise. And I cannot wait to see some of the goofy shit people come up with because this is going to get taken down by Dash or something. You know that, right? Like, it's going to be like full item Dash with a boost sideboard just coming to fucking shoot everybody's head off. Well, let's just, I guess we are in America, but it's, it was a little much, but it's going to be won by something, or it's going to, like, Kano's going to come in and people are going to forget their arcane barrier because they're trying to brew against other things, or Dorinthia is going to show up in full dumpster mode playing Command and Conquers, Art of Wars, Enlightened Strikes, Snatches, Razor Reflexes. It's going to be like, why, you know, like, trying to sucker people in with Dawnblade attacks that don't matter, you know? Or it's going to be like Sabers Bolton, you know, something just super weird.
This is the format people wish the Pro Tour was.
Yes, this is exactly this is that format. Yeah, that is an awesome way of putting it. So,
as a quick thing, we glanced over it real quick. They are delaying Uprising in North America. It's not in our news and notes.
Right.
Logan did the show notes this week, everybody. So
that's right. It's his fault.
But they are delaying.
I would like to point out that under the show notes for Reddit Thread of the Week, it did say "not my fucking job" because it is not my fucking job.
But they are delaying the Uprising release in America specifically. So
yes,
you will not be able to go to your LGS and buy things on the 24th if they are following the rules.
If they're following the rules,
some stores may get things anyway, which is good news. I hope stores get their product, but they are not to be sold until July 1st, which caused this change of events for the Realm, and they did it in 2 hours from the announcement being dropped. Man, I know we've been high on Keith's K's today. It was nuts. Like
there is a group chat with the three of us and Keith because he's big supporters of us. We're big supporters of him. It's not insider trading anything. It's more along the lines of he values our input and we absolutely value everything Keith does. And so when this came up, like I'm immediately just on my phone in the group chat going, what the fuck? And he's like, I'm trying to figure it out. He's like, I don't know. I'm emailing him, waiting for an email back. I'm like, call him. And so he called LSS. He actually accidentally called James White, which is hilarious. And then he got a call back from their actual like allocation people or whatever, organized play people within an hour. And we had found out that they are allowing him to use what he has to play the Uprising Armory on Friday still. So that's still a thing. And then also to run the single greatest card format of all time.
That's right.
On Sunday. Jordan, what is the GOAT format?
Team Sealed. Team Sealed is easily the best format.
Fucking absolutely Team Sealed.
It's so gross.
You're fucking right it is.
There's no right way to do it. It's insane. It's incredible. If you've not played Team Sealed, listen, Fabbers that didn't play Magic, listen to me. It is the best format of all time. And
all time.
As a Fapper, and you might not know this, but if you listen to the show, you are a Fapper. You are required by law to like Team Sealed the most.
To love
Team Sealed the most. Like if you have a wife or a kid, sorry, they're second and third now. Team Sealed is now
Team Sealed
first.
Number.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Team Sealed.
It's tough.
Right.
House of Fire. What are you saving? Team Sealed.
Team Sealed.
Like that's right.
100%.
100%.
We don't make the rules.
We don't.
We just enforce them. We're just people over people.
We firmly believe that snitches get stitches, but here we walk the line too. We are rule followers, and the rule is that Team Sealed is the perfect format for playing cards. There's no two ways.
You get 12 booster packs. If you don't know, you get 12 booster packs. Your team of 3 makes 3 30-card decks from them, and then you battle another team of 3 on one-on-one matches. So, like, let's say Abbie, Logan, and I were a team. I would play an opponent. Abbie would play, an opponent, and Logan would play an opponent from the other team. Whichever team wins 2 out of their 3 matches wins the match and goes like 1-0. And it is, I can't tell you how much fun it is to build decks, to communicate with your teammates during matches about the machinations of like the game, like ask for brief help, and how good it is. Like teams are great. Teams are great.
You can watch the feature match coverage of Jordan, myself, and Dagan White several times, I'm sure, over that Sunday.
Oh yeah. Well, so Dagan will win most of them. You or I just need to run 50-50 between us.
That's all we gotta do is coin flip.
That's it.
Yeah. Simple. Yeah, easy math. We got this.
Get a ringer like Dagan and then just 50-50.
Yeah, that's all we gotta do.
It was funny. I told Keith, I was like, hey, like Sunday, we'll be up there. I'm not on a team, so like whatever I can help you guys do, like, I'm here to help. If you want me to like pass out stuff, like just tell me. And he was like, oh, we might need you for a team. And I was like, okay, that's not what I was expecting.
We do have another person in our car that could actually use a teammate. So you may be on another Fapper team of a sort, I guess. That's a little messy. Oh man, that was even worse. Okay. Nope.
So
love it.
Fun fact for people that are thinking about coming and are like, man, I'd really like to play this cool format, but I don't have 2 friends that would like to play with me, or I couldn't find a team or whatever. They are doing a mercenary list at the event. Saturday after the main event starts, the Realm is opening a list.
A merc
so you
list.
Put your name on it. Yeah. And you will be filled in as a third. Teams will be constructed from the list, like whatever. Like they're going to do their best to make sure that everyone that wants to participate can. If neither of these sound good to you, if you don't want to play Team Sealed because you're an actual sociopath, or you don't want to play Classic Constructed, you are more than welcome to turn the podcast off because you're not going to play Team Sealed. But
please don't.
Please don't. Actually,
please don't.
Like, comment, subscribe. It helps my engagement. But
5 stars. Find Jordan's individual shit and just shit on that. But 5 stars for us, please.
But this podcast, please. Or B, there will be win-a-box Uprising drafts all weekend. I'm not totally sure the cost, but all weekend long, you will be able to just jump in a pod and play to win a box. LSS is bent over backwards to help him and to help Keith and Jacob. So
and honestly, like let's take a minute here. Nice job, LSS.
Yes.
I was on very much so freak out mode with discussion of moving the event, which is just a non-starter. Talking about, okay, we can switch this to something else. I'm like, and that's stale. And it's like, and so concerns brought to LSS, and LSS immediately was just like, we got you. Like,
yep.
This is a company several time zones away that is talking to you on a different day than you are on right now.
Yeah.
And it was immediately in, yep, we got you. Kudos to them for their quick reactions, their outreach, and then their willingness to work with Keith and Jacob and making this into honestly kind of a better event. If I'm not too untoward in saying, I think that this has actually generated more excitement. We have people coming that weren't coming, and then they saw the team seal and like, yep, gone, done. Yep. Accommodations booked.
Yes.
Immediately.
Yep.
So good on LSS for doing that. I think that's important to call
out. Just so everyone's aware, the venue is in Ashland, Ohio, which is even smaller than Mansfield, Ohio. It is at Ashland University, so if you pull up, don't be confused on where you're at. So just a little heads up on that. There's also a place, I'm assuming it'll be open even with summer school, but the Eagle's Nest is like a little restaurant that's across the street. They have pretty good food. Yep.
Is it like Eagly from Peacemaker, or is it like just a random eagle?
I don't know what the eagle's name is.
Okay.
The Ashland.
The Ashland Eagle or whatever.
Yeah, Eagle's Nest. Like, who's nesting there? I'm kind of curious.
No. An eagle? What are you talking about?
Well, is it a random eagle or is it a specific eagle? That's what I'm fucking asking.
I don't know what their mascot's name is. I didn't go there.
But you grew up really close.
Guys, we live on the fucking internet. We can just like Ashland Eagles.
Please don't ruin your bandwidth by Googling.
It's known as Tuffy the Eagle. That's a shitty name for you. What the?
That's a shit name. That's a shit Tuffy. That's even a shittier fucking name. Like no.
Holy shit!
I'm not on this eagle. I actively dislike eagles.
I'm not surprised. Ashland University is a Christian college, so I'm not surprised. We'll just leave it
actively dislike this.
So, anyways, it is at the university, so do not think you're in the wrong place if it takes you there.
That's like how far is it from Mansfield Center?
From Mansfield, like where at?
Yeah, because Friday night Keith is holding like an Uprising Armory. So how far is Ashland from Mansfield?
Oh, hold on.
This is great radio.
Great radio.
Brought to you by Google Maps.
How far is Columbus from Mansfield? How far is Columbus from Ashland?
Columbus to Mansfield is about an hour and 10-ish minutes. So if you're flying into Columbus, you have about an hour and 10-minute hike.
Funny story. We almost took a private plane into Columbus.
Oh, really?
We were very close to doing so. So Josh Freeland, one of the guys that's taking us, his dad's a pilot, and the option to take a private plane into Columbus Airport was on the table. But the takeoff time was more expensive. No, it was actually the same price as driving. Because they buy their fuel in bulk like 6 months ahead of time, so those prices are 6 months behind current prices.
Oh wow!
So it was like $200, which is about the cost it's going to cost me to drive there. But it was turned out like we couldn't leave till like 6 p.m. So like demonstrably we would not be gaining any time going there. We'd only be gaining time and convenience coming back potentially. And it's a lot of strain to put on a single person that's piloting a Cessna to make that trip 4 times, right?
Sure. Sure.
So ultimately we chose the driving route, but it was on the table to take a private plane, which would have been pretty baller. I would have had a fur coat coming off that fucking plane with Jordan picking me up and having him go,
hold a little sign.
Me. Yeah.
Digging of the corn written on my fucking sign.
Right.
Perfect.
It is 20 minutes door to door from the Rome to Ashland University.
Okay. So if you're staying in Columbus or flying in, still like hour 10, hour 30.
Yeah, it's not far.
Same thing. Okay.
Events start at 9:30.
Okay.
There you go. So be there before then.
Big weekend this weekend. Folks. I'm very excited.
Yeah, huge weekend this weekend. So
this is the biggest Flesh and Blood event happening this weekend. I know people, if you get annoyed that we talk about the Realms events all the time, it's because they're doing cool shit. Like this is the biggest independent circuit of Flesh and Blood that there is, point blank. So
also, you're our listeners, you're our community. I love you. But if you don't like how much we talk about these great events, fuck you. So I can have both. It is it is a dichotomy of
we're
joy.
Duplicitous people. Yeah, we're duplicitous society here.
Yes, very much so. We are
duplicitous. I did put a K to it, did I?
Yeah, you did. Right. We have K. Keith has K's. Duplicitous does not.
There you go. All right, we are a third of the way through the show notes, and
we're 41 minutes into the episode.
Yep. Yikes. So, if you have any other questions about the event or anything around it this weekend, we have a Discord channel set up for it. So get in there or tweet at us, and we can get you some details. All right, Armory Kit.
Fai.
All right.
Fai.
So, in front of me on my note sheet, have 4 things that will be given out. I do not know who gets what, but I'm just going to read them, and then I'm assuming somebody else has more information on it because there's not a link for me to look at. So, there is an Uprising, the card Uprising playmat, a Rise from the Ashes playmat, a Cold Foil Searing Ember Blade, and a Rainbow Foil Extended Art Rise Up.
So it's the Uprising the playmats are People's Champion, like normal. There are 4 Cold Foil Searing Ember Blades that go to the winners of each week. And then there are Rainbow Foil Extended Art Rise Ups for everyone else.
There you go.
32 of them.
There you go, folks. I knew somebody would know.
Rise Up is the Rupture card that gets plus X and Dominate when it's on Rupture, where X is equal to twice the number of Phoenix Flames you control.
I got to do that this weekend. It was
feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure did.
Yeah, sure does. There's not a lot of Dominate in this set, but
this kit's
when it hits, this is a sweet kit. I cannot wait to try to get that Uprising mat because I've been running hot on mats lately. I have a Herald of Ravages one that I randomly won while I was in Vegas. That I won from Iowa. I won the raffle that was happening in Iowa while I was in Vegas. Yeah,
there you go.
Whatever. And then I have the Vegas mat, obviously, which is a dope looking play mat. But my Blood on Her Hands playmat is still like my pride and joy. Somebody offered me 300 cash in Vegas, and I just no-sirred them. Like, that's not happening.
That was a good one.
That thing is sweet.
That is sweet.
Yeah. All right. European Language History Pack 1 launches July 1st. All 3 Fabled Gems from Welcome to Wraith, Arcane Rising, and Crucible are in the set. And distribution will be exclusively in the EU and some Canada.
Yeah, French is in Canada. Otherwise, everything's in the EU. It's looks to be it's all black bordered for the foreign language. We don't know, and there were special treatments, I guess, for the heroes as well. We do not know if the Fableds are foil or non-foil, but it's kind of sweet that they're putting them in there for our counterparts across the pond to get their hands on. I think that's good.
Only because we're talking about history packs. I know that these are different economically, but has the English economic pack done anything to price stability? Do we know?
It did. Yeah, it did initially. It did. Like, it's almost like clockwork to follow these things, honestly. So initially, it put some dents in prices so people could jump in and buy things. But once the history packs haven't really the original there hasn't been a second wave of history pack 1 in that has hit the shores here that I can tell. And so the initial little dent in prices. So the white border Command and Conquerors were in the $30 range. You could get the black borders at that point in time for 35-ish. Those have bounced back in price. Command and Conquerors at one point in time came down to 70-ish, and they're right back up at 90. So it made a small dent for a small time. For whatever fucking reason, Enlightened Strike is still in the dumpster. But everything else that isn't, well, I guess it's probably because of how much WTR was open in the Farewell to Wraith drafts. But everything else has kind of rebounded already. And it'll probably change again once there's another wave of History Pack 1 that comes. But right now, it has not improved accessibility by a remarkable margin within the US. I guess that's how I put it.
Okay. No, that is a great answer. I hadn't followed it at all. So
that's my kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll let you handle that. All right, judge program expansion. So there are now 4 levels of judges as opposed to 2, right? That's what we had.
Yeah, it used to be 2. Now it's there's 5 technically because level 0 still exists. But level 1 is for casual REL to head judge like a skirmish. Level 2 is for competitive REL, and that's like head judging like a pro quest with some 4 judges. Level 3 is for like head judging a calling with some 4 judges, and the level 4 is like for pro tours, head judging a pro tour. So there are new certifications, and they also did a thing that I think is important. And so whenever rules change, so whenever we have like new CRs and stuff like that, will require like a recertification so that they can identify that you understand the new rules, how they're written, and it's not a shit show. I guess the best way to put it.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that this game definitely needs a separation between in-store events and out-of-store events, as well as like both like rules enforcement level-wise, which they're working on, and also on the back end with like support staff. Magic suffered from that from a little bit, but not as badly as Flesh and Blood does.
No, because they kind of came out of the gates with enough judge support, because Duelist Convocation International was a separate entity at the beginning. So judging was completely separate at the beginning from the game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's only a fairly recent development that Magic has merged all of that stuff in-house.
Merged and then kind of unmerged, then remerged.
Yeah, they wanted nothing to do with them, and like for a long time were very hands off, and then became very hands on, and then who knows? I mean, who knows what Paper Magic's doing?
I don't know. I don't follow anymore.
That's right.
But I like that LSS has it in house from the beginning and can kind of dictate the shape of the program. Yep. I am excited for player bases to step up when they leave their store to another event. It is awkward when someone misses a trigger at like a calling and you say something and there's like this upset moment of like, come on, man, just be cool. And it's like, why did you expect that? You know, and that's just, I think that's a game culture problem more than it, like the game doesn't foster that type of like growth. People missing triggers and being upset is like a tale as old as time. That'll always happen.
Right.
But I think players having the expectation that their opponents will let them miss stuff is a very Flesh and Blood thing. And like, I think there's something the game can do to shape that, like that, hey, you're not at your LGS on an armory or a skirmish anymore. Like,
yeah, that's hard. Because while you speak about Magic, like a lot of the times you get these kids that came from FNM that show up at their first Grand Prix and the first thing they do is miss a fucking trigger. It's like, oh shit, I forgot this or whatever. And it's like, yeah, you did. And
yeah.
Oh, I'm just gonna move my dice. No, you're not. That we're past that.
Right.
It's not my responsibility. It's yours. And you're being a shark. No, I'm just playing by the rules at that point. Like if I expected it to go the other way and let me have my trigger that I missed, then that's different. But if it's a level playing field and my expectation is the same as the expectation I hold myself to, that's not sharky. That's I want to play this as the rule state.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it.
Right.
Yep.
Like, and I think, and it could just be like an age of, I mean, I don't know. Like, as you make a good point that Magic did have the kids thing, but I feel like at the beginning of Magic tournaments, they always told you, hey, your opponent is not responsible for remembering your triggers. There was always that big judge pre-talk. I didn't hear that. I haven't heard that any of the call-ins have played in.
Yeah, I guess I never stopped and thought about that, but you're right.
Like, there should be this, like, hey, this is not, because for most Flesh and Blood players, and don't hear me wrong, the expectation is not properly communicated to players. So don't hear me wrong on this. But for most players, they play at their local armory. They might get a pro quest an hour away. You guys are very in this situation as Iowa, but Iowa does have a very competitive community, so it's not analogous. But like,
we also don't get pro quests, so it's like 6 one half dozen the other.
Right. So like your type of geograph, right, where like you have an armory, you might have a couple of guys that drive to a pro quest an hour or two away, but then oh shit, well let's make this cool trip to Indianapolis and play in this calling. That'd be a really fun vacation for everybody. There is not the moment explained to people that hey, there is a difference. And I think adding the staff and adding like certifications to staff like this helps with that a lot, because now there's a guy in your store that he's your L1 judge because he took a test online. Now he has this clear path, and he can kind of start to shape your local store and say, hey, there's also, hey, you're going to that calling next weekend, be prepared for X. So the culture can shift because of like these top down decisions. And I think that part's really cool. I never want people to go to something and have a bad experience. And I feel like when I tell somebody they can't put their tunic counter on a thing after they've played a spell on their turn, that I'm creating a bad experience. And part of it is just an expectations thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a good way of talking about it. And someday, if anybody encounters me in the wild, I will tell numerous stories. Among them will be of Jordan and I at almost getting kicked out of GP Louisville. And also the just talking about how the Iowa scene is completely not like anything else you'll ever know in Flesh and Blood. But
you guys are an odd duck. That'll be a fun story day, because you guys are odd ducks.
Really are. We really are. Dagon of the corn.
Dagon of the literal corn.
Fuck. Of literal corn.
That's right. All right, it's time for Logan's favorite segment.
Man, really?
Our Reddit thread of the week.
Not my fucking job.
We have one. Don't worry. Okay, so post is, okay, so at my pre-release event yesterday, a question came up whether Rise of the Ashes is considered a draconic train link. A few players said it did, and that while they were in Vegas, a judge confirmed that it would count. My buddy, however, said that only attacks are in the chain. So who is right? Thanks for the help.
So this is actually a great segue, and they don't. This actually came up at all of the pre-releases that I was at. A question like this was asked, and so they don't. Non-attack actions do not create chain links. Non-attack actions, when they resolve, instantly go to the graveyard. In Flesh and Blood, we are because there aren't permanents for the most part, we are very unconscious of the space that's on the table. So like Uprising is a card in this set. 0, your next 4 draconic attacks get +1, go again. Okay,
fucking card.
It's insane. People will play it and leave it on the table, and just to show, hey, the next 4 things as a reminder. It's actually kind. It's just kind. Maybe it's a reminder yourself. It's a reminder your opponent. It's probably just a good idea. They'll play 2 things, and then they'll try to 2 attacks, then they'll try to activate Fai's ability for free. And because we as Flesh and Blood players since the beginning of Welcome to Wraith have been leaving out our non-attack actions, it looks like it's a chain link, like visually to the player on the field. That is not how they work. And now you know.
It sure isn't. So I got 3 things. This is for everybody, because young and old alike, new and seasoned veterans. 3 things. 1, non-attack actions do not create chain links. Just talked about it. 2, you can break the combat chain any point
whenever you want, all the time,
whenever you want.
Have a blast.
You can just turn that shit off. 3rd, if you start with a card outside of your deck in a zone in the game, that card still counts towards the minimum requirement of your deck size.
That's a really important one, actually, because only Dash operates like that, right?
Used to, yes.
Yeah, Dash and now Fai, right?
And now Fai does. Yep. So if you have 29 cards after you take your Phoenix Flame and put it in the graveyard to start the game, you are still presenting a legal deck. You do not have to add a cracked bubble.
Was that that didn't come up on my end? Did that come up for you guys?
It came up.
Yep, that's unfortunate.
Sure did. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that come up when it comes up into pre-releases. So, in the case of the breaking the chain, somebody was like, "I broke the chain because I was going to double burn away and kill them because reasons."
That's a reasonable thing.
And so I was like, "Break the chain," and they're like, "Okay, well then it's my turn." I'm like, "No, I still have an action point." Like, but it costs an action point to break the chain. I'm like, "Sure doesn't."
No,
I can just do that whenever I damn well please. So break the chain. Cool. And now I'm going to just burn away twice.
Playing your Phoenix Flame for 0 is and then breaking the chain is a reasonable
One more thing. The sequence of events is announce the card and all targets, pay the costs for the card, and then resolve its effects. So if you do not have an Ash token and you go to invoke, I don't give a fuck what dragon, and you pitch a red, that Ash does not exist when you try to play the spell.
You can't even play the invoke.
You can't even play the invoke.
Yeah.
I will advise you, it does block for 3.
That is an important distinction. Is that the last bit about the pitching and having a target when you play an invoke is an important to see. You can't play it and then get got by your opponent who goes, "Oh, you don't have an Ash. That card just goes to the graveyard." Like you can't cast the invoke.
You literally can't play it.
Like if you try to play it and go, "Oh wait, I don't have an," just put it back in your hand. It's not even a take back. You like literally can't do what you try to do. So
yep.
And that's an important thing. Shout out to Teague, who friend of the show, asks a lot of great questions on our Discord. He's the TO.
What a good mensch.
Yeah, he's the TO of the Dublin store Beyond the Board that Abbie exoed on Saturday, and he gave a great pre-tournament judge talk about things like that. Hey, specifically your example of invokes no Ash to pitch a red doesn't work, and a couple of other scenarios that come up throughout the thing that, it was actually the best like pre-release pre-chat I've ever heard Magic or Beyond the or Flesh and Blood wise, because these are things that should just probably be said before every tournament by whoever's in charge.
James Gray, who is one of the owners of Mayhem Comics and Games in Des Moines, also just long time friend of mine. We grew up together. He always did a great thing at the beginning of pre-releases, which is read your cards. If your opponent tells you that their card says, I win the game, they're probably lying to you. Call a judge and have them explain what the card does. Which is kind of that same thing. Like, if you don't understand something, just ask. Just say something. But yes, and this is all just for clarification purposes, so that when you walk into the next thing, if somebody goes, okay, I'm invoking Dramatavaka, whatever the fuck its name is, but I'm creating an Ash by pitching to so I can convert. It's like, nah, you're not. That's not how this works.
And to know there are differences in the way some cards are written. So what is it, like Rake the Embers or whatever?
Yes,
that
Rake
will
creates them and then
yeah. So like you can pitch an Ash to Rake, you can cast Rake, make an Ash, and then Rake resolves and it sees itself. That is distinct from what an invoke does. This is getting very rulesy, but Rake has no target. Yeah,
correct.
Yep, it got very rulesy Reddit thread of the week, but we should have done this one last week. Where was this guy last week?
Well, not on fucking Reddit. Apparently, he was living his best life. He touched some goddamn grass for once.
We didn't have a Reddit thread of the week last week. God damn it!
Just fuck Reddit. That's why.
It does make me sad.
So we have 3 listener questions this week. First one is from Alan. This is a continuation, I believe.
Yeah, we're continuing this question.
What D&D alignment is each Fab hero? So this week we're going to do Welcome to Wraith. So we have the 4: Bravo, Dory, Katsu, and Reinar.
Okay.
I'm going to take the easy one. Reinar is chaotic neutral.
I think KO is chaotic neutral. I would almost put.
I don't think.
I guess it's still random. It's still a lot of random. So
yeah, I don't think like the non-talented brutes have a disposition.
No, but like chaotic neutral, like true neutral, would start make a little more sense for Reinar, where chaotic neutral makes a ton of sense for KO because it's all about rolling dice.
Sure. If you're trying to get gameplay elementy, sure.
Yeah.
I'm taking it just from like a lore, but I like what you're saying.
Sure. I'm okay with chaotic neutral because I think that Katsu is actually true neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's
interesting. I was going to say interesting.
I don't think he's necessarily good. I
was going to say lawful evil or maybe like chaotic evil.
No, I think
chaotic
Katsu's
evil.
Not that.
That's like jokery.
No, that's.
Yeah.
I think he's more just the true neutral vein. He'll do what needs done. kind of irrespective of whether or not it's good, evil, lawful, or chaotic. He doesn't kind of give a shit.
So I guess Fab's deviation from what a ninja is frustrating. Because like historically ninja, like L5R, like Eastern Asian, like medieval lore, they're very like dark, shadowy, like
they're hired assassins.
Like, right. They're bad. Yeah. They're a bad faction, right? Or a bad job.
Katsu's closer to a Ronin than a ninja.
Yes. A Ronin, or even like somewhere between a Ronin and a monk kind of deal. Yeah.
Right. Which I would think that like as an example, young Kasai I would also put in the neutral space. Like,
sure,
you pay me, I'll do what you need done. I don't actually give a shit what it is.
Yep.
And I'll take care of the problem. I think Katsu is the same way, where it's okay, this is what needs done. I'm just going to take care of it. Totally fine. Whatever side of the ball lands on, it lands on. Totally okay with it. This is kind of the fun part, because I don't think there's actually any evil characters in Welcome to Wraith.
I don't think so.
Because Bravo's chaotic good.
Right.
I mean, just he's like if Gaston didn't suck.
Yeah.
He's fun loving, loves to party, just got kind of a good dude that does good things and defends people when he wants to, but isn't afraid to break some skulls and break some laws. Whereas Dorinthia is clearly part of the
her clan is very lawful.
Yeah, meritocracy, or not meritocracy at all. Sorry, just you're. Wrong word entirely.
As much of a meritocracy as America is. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. But more of like she almost seems like a princess to a degree.
Yeah.
But more of us like a lawful good spot.
Yep.
I think the most interesting character because of that is just like, is Katsu actually true neutral? Like, does Katsu have like a tipping point somewhere? Do we know?
Right. That's fair. That's a fair
one. I'm okay with calling Rhinar either true neutral or chaotic neutral. Like either way is fine. But I think that the two kind of black and white ones, so to speak, are Bravo and Dorinthia.
Yep.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Question number 2 is from Teeter Dance. Do you think allowing Phoenix Flames into Fai's deck as tokens, parentheses for free, contributes to his dominance in limited? And do you think that this is a tactic they should lean into or away from in the future?
Part 1, no.
Part 1. Ooh, interesting. I don't know the answer. I was gonna say yes, but then I had to wait 1, 2 while I thought about your answer, and I don't know. I'm gonna say no. There's just a bunch of really good 0 red go agains that contribute to that.
They specifically do not point out the elephant in the room with Fai, and that is the 5-card hand. That is starting with one of those things in the graveyard.
Oh,
that
sure. Okay.
is closer to the problem with Fai than the inclusion of Phoenix Flames in the deck. However, I don't think Fai is as dominant as people think. It just happens to be the baseline deck.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same thing?
No.
Or is that a distinction without a difference?
It is not a distinction without a difference. Fai is, so in a draft specifically, because like sealed is just such a different thing, and they're calling limited, right? So in a given pot of 8, I don't think Fai is going to win that pot of 8 the majority of the time.
I do think Icelander hard counters Fai.
I think that there's a lot of 2/1 Fai decks, and there's a couple of 3-0s here and there, but you're more likely to find 3-0 Icelander and Dromai decks. However, your fail rate, your 0-3s and 1-2s are going to also contain a lot of Fai and Dromai decks, or not Fai, a lot of Dromai and Icelander decks, because they're just built badly. It's easier to build a competitive Fai deck in a draft than it is to build a competitive Icelander or Dromai deck.
I do think that so it depends on what they want to do with that. Because I think I could accept that the 5-card hand A is a very nice baseline. Then B, Fai is a straightforward game plan for a newer player, like very similar to a mono red strategy. As closest to mono red as Flesh and Blood is likely to have.
Briar,
yeah, Briar was. I think we would have called that mono red before Fai came out.
Yeah, Fai's closer.
Fai's closer, but no, I think you're right that there's not much of a difference there. But no.
And also, keep in mind that Dromai can start with 3 Phoenix Flames as well. So it's not like it's just Fai. Fai just happens to start with one in the graveyard.
Oh, I guess you know what? That's enough to sway me. You're right. That the fact that they both have access to those, and it so if I made a tier list right now, I would say like tier 1 Icelander, tier 2 Fai, tier 3 Dromai, based off of just like my 3.5 events. I don't know if I'm going to be married to that in like 2 months from now. But because of how hard Icelander can, if piloted correctly and sequenced correctly, counter Fai, and how much more difficult Dromai is to build than Fai, there's a little bit more like requirements. Those seem like a fair.
I think your best draft deck that you can possibly hope for is the perfect Dromai deck. I think that actually is the best. Like, if you were to say, give all of these within the context of limited, so like not actually a blitz deck, but like in the context of what limited could be, if you gave each of these heroes their best possible drafts, I think Dromai wins. And I think Fai is actually third. However, that's not life, right? Like, the perfect draft deck never happens, or rarely happens, or however you want to put it. So in that regard, when you then flatten the curve out a little bit, it's, if you happen to figure out how to draft the best deck and play the best deck, you're probably still playing Dromai. If you're thinking that there's a ton of Fai at the table and you want to farm them, hoping one of them knocks out a Dromai and that you end up with a Fai in the finals, you just play Icelander. Like, you draft every blue you fucking see and play Icelander and hope you dodge the Dromai, because Dromai just shits out Arcane Barrier. Like,
yeah, the Ashwing tokens have it, right? So like,
yeah, they just have the Ashlings just have Arcane Barrier. So I have AB 12 or whatever that it also attacks every turn. I just don't give a shit anymore. So like that's really almost impossible for Icelander to deal with. So yeah, for me, it's definitely not as cut and dried as people are putting it already. And come the fuck on. Like, we've had a premiere event and a pre-release, and we're already ready to crown Fai, like anoint the deck as the best thing you can be doing. No, we're not even close.
To be fair to that part of it. To be fair, yeah. This is the most limited most people will play. Like, it's pre-release.
Well, weekend. with Road to Nationals being draft.
So I'm going off of the idea, and then maybe this is a false presupposition because where Fab is as a community, that the most players come for the pre-release, and then the player pool that plays Road to Nationals is like much smaller, right? So like, you're getting a broader perspective of like player opinions, and I definitely do think that like, when you need, if I need, let's say, like 12 red zeros to have like a pretty good Fai deck, right? I start with 3 of them, like I get that idea of like, hey, this is already way easier, especially in limited when I don't have a lot of selection over my card pool, but I get access.
But take a step back and realize that like those 3 Phoenix Flames also make it so that Dromai gets to have their dragons go again every turn.
Oh, sure.
Just by playing the Phoenix Flame.
Sure. Oh, totally. Yeah. Play my Phoenix Flame, attack you with my 5
billion. Yeah, who cares?
Yeah. No, for sure. I think that's where you swayed me, was recognizing that Dromai also gets access to those, and the community doesn't have this perception about Fai being like the nutso butso deck, because it's harder to build at a baseline than Fai is. Mm-hmm. So I think you've convinced me from that perspective, but I also get the community perspective of like, yeah, because everyone knows I'm a very flexible mind and very easy to change. So,
well, for some reason, I can talk you into some stupid shit. But
that's actually
in this case, in this case, I actually think I have a pretty good idea.
I think you have a superior argument for sure. Yeah. For sure. So I guess we're rejecting the premise that Fai is the dominant deck. But I also understand where that perception comes from, because again, at the Sunday one that we played at the Realm, I don't think there was a Dromai in the room. I think it was half Fai's, half Iceland's. Yeah, because you need X amount of dragons. And because most people have only played sealed, like you and I are in the minority of people that have drafted. You know,
that's true. Yeah, and I've drafted this 3 times. So
yeah, like and like in both the drafts I did Friday, my deck was demonstrably better than either of the sealeds I had on Saturday and Sunday.
Oh yeah, by far. And like that's not always the case right? in everything. Well, but not always, right?
True.
Like,
well,
I just don't
think it's true. Like in Flesh and Blood,
I think that. I guess that's sure. I don't think I've ever seen the nuts opened in sealed in Flesh and Blood in my life. I've definitely seen it in other games, but I do not think I've seen that like where I went. You literally opened a blitz deck. Whereas if I'm talking about Magic, I've looked at somebody's pool and went, "You open a fucking block deck." Like what the shit?
So block deck, that's dating. That's a dating reference.
Yeah, everybody knows I'm in my 40s now.
Yikes! Hey, do you have a Gateway computer there in your office too?
No, I did have one in college, but I was also one of the only people on campus that had a CD burner on his computer, and I made so much money burning music.
Yeah.
I mean, making people copies of their already purchased compact discs as backups so that they would never lose their. Does the FCC listen to our podcast? Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts on that one?
Back half of the question, do you think it's a tactic we should lean into or way in the future? I think it should be set dependent. I don't actually hate it. I don't want to see it happen every time.
I think that there are I think that exploring this as a bouncing mechanic, because without this, Icelander would just be clearly the best thing to be doing.
Yeah.
And so this being a way to put your thumb on the scale a little bit makes sense. And trying different ways to put your thumb on the scale to make it more competitive or more balanced, it's a good thing.
Yep. All right. Question number 3 is from Dagon of the Corn. And it's for other people looking to get into content creation. Do you guys have any recommendation for camera mic setups?
Jordan, do you want to go over what you have, or do you want me to go over what I have?
So I can give some general hits. I've been doing content creation since 2011. If you're watching on YouTube, my lighting situation is currently shit, so I'm sorry. I actually, since we've been doing this show, I haven't had time to like actually make my studio back to a studio again. Don't spend a bunch of money. Yeah, right. Like we're an audio first show, so not that big of a deal. If you have the money to buy a camera and like a nice microphone, like I have a Blue Ember, which is an XLR microphone, into a mixer on my desk. I have a Go XLR mini mixer. Like these are cool tools, but honest to God, your cell phone is like the best camera and microphone that you already own. And there is software for free that like will hook it up. I know that's boring, but depending on what you're looking to spend, your lighting is the most important part of your camera. A lot of people will have a shit camera, have a shit video, go buy a really nice camera, and still have a shit video because like you don't have light coming into the lens. So in front of me, behind my computer screen, I have a big box light. Over here, my key light on the other side, a little offset from behind my camera, I have a light, and then I have a fill light behind me. Again, none of them are on because they're in weird positions, but lighting is probably the most important thing if you're going to be like a video first thing. If looking at you is the most important part of your video. But I use a Logitech webcam, a pretty basic webcam, and then like my microphone's pretty nice. But Senpai Gaming on YouTube is who like I go through when I look at like buying products. Harris Heller is the guy's name, and he does phenomenal reviews. He teaches you how to use it. Like that's the big thing. Like I bought a Go XLR and was like, what the fuck do I do, Harris? And like he has a video on how to set it up, and like it's honestly the best part of everything. Yeah. So that's kind of my answer, is buy some nice lights and then look at Senpai Gaming if you want to like learn how to use your stuff, the cool shit you buy. But
yeah, I mean, I'm pretty simple. There's a $20 ring light that sits behind my monitors. It's a little hot because of how close I have to sit to it, but it's not the worst. My complexion doesn't look like I'm literally lit on fire or anything. And then there is a bright white fill light behind me that makes it so that it's not, that I don't look like a fucking archangel or something. Microphone is simple. It's just a Blue Yeti. It's right here. Oops, shit.
There it is.
Pop filters are your friend. Please use them. For the love of God, please use them.
Yeah, you could tell a big difference between our first episodes when Abbie didn't have one and now that she does. There is a lot less like hurting in your ear every time she talks.
So yeah, I mean that's really, and like it's a Logitech 920C. It's a like $60 webcam, right? Like it's nothing. Yeah, it's nothing that is high end or anything else. So my entire setup cost maybe $200.
All of my stuff is hand me down from when Jordan got his stuff.
So
cheers.
Well, and that's a great point, is that I went through the phase of like I have a YouTube channel that isn't FleshPod that I used to do a lot of stuff on. Used to stream on Twitch pretty regularly. Back in the day in college, made StarCraft videos, and kind of went through this phase of like, yeah, I'm a big phase guy. That's borderline personality disorder, baby. We love hyperfixating. So, but no, so I
thank God we made it 29 weeks.
Yeah, this is a routine now, so we're set. Actually, we did it. We're past.
We're good. Okay, fine.
Yeah, I think we're good. I went through that phase of like, I'll buy this next camera and that'll help, and then I'll buy this nice microphone and that'll help. Sure. It's just horseshit. It's just horseshit. You don't need it.
Yeah.
Like, make good stuff and people will listen to it or watch it. And if they don't, like, get feedback and like make your stuff, make more stuff.
This is your most successful content creation endeavor, isn't it?
At Your Instep was pretty big.
Was it pretty big at the end?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was pretty big at the end. I'm not sure, but this is good. I'll take this. My Twitch project was kind of shouting into the wind. My personal YouTube, yeah. Like, I've always thought I've made good stuff, and never like stuck with it because, again, hyperfixation. My personal YouTube was starting to take off a little bit, but then I just stopped. But this is definitely the most consistent and fun thing I've done that's lasted a long time. Gotcha. So podcasting is definitely great. Yeah.
So the important moral of that story is just have somebody who has their stuff and thinks they need better stuff and then take it.
Jesus Christ.
So I did. Okay, so moving on. Our next announcement is a Patreon announcement.
Yeah. This is more of an announcement, I guess.
Yeah. So, and Jordan, correct me here, because I don't have as much input's the wrong word. I don't have as much interaction with this part of it as you do, but I guess we've had people asking us when we're setting up our Patreon.
Right. Yeah, we've had quite a few people, and thank you very much for asking. That's really cool. But a lot of people have been going, hey, how can we support? And that was neat.
That's a lot. Like, I'm not used to wanting anybody had to have anything to do with me, so this is great.
Then I've spent a lot of time on this podcast talking about not paying for shit. So like, you know, it is really neat. Like I've backed one Patreon in my life, and I've backed a bunch of Kickstarters. So I guess that's the same thing, just a different genre. But
the only Patreon I'm active on right now, I think, is Flakes.
Okay, that's a good one to be active on. I was active on a World of Warcraft podcast that I liked because I liked submitting listener questions, and they did theirs via that. So an important note about that is that this will not lock the show or ability to ask questions or anything. The Patreon is very much a
hey, thanks.
We want to support you. Thank you very much. Here's like a beer or a cup of coffee or whatever.
I mean, I guess and from me, I want to be crystal clear here. At no point in time will I ever want to put this show behind any sort of paywall.
Right.
Yep.
Access to us, access to the show, access to anything. Like, I like interacting with the people that we have that are listeners and such. I'm blown away by how good, how kind, how fun, even when they're calling me an idiot, our crew of people are, how our community is. I straight up told some friends of mine today that I really wish I could just cherry pick the good people out of the MTG community, bring them over to Fab, and then just divorce myself of that hellscape of a community for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. That's what you brought to us. And so I feel like us bringing this show to you, we will never make you jump through any hoop to obtain this. Yep. Like no. However, we may have some other weird shit that we do put behind a Patreon.
Yeah, stuff that I'm embarrassed about that Logan desperately wants me to share. That will cost money to hear.
mainly because for whatever reason, I come out of these stories as not embarrassed, as like the reasonable human. which is really
Logan
fucking rare
from me. Yeah, right. Because anyone that's been a fly on the wall at any event would know that Logan is the wild child and I am the guys, let's not get arrested, except for like the 10 stories that I have to share on this thing. So,
and almost like for whatever reason, like 7 of the 10 have me involved and I live nowhere close to you.
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen each other like 6 times in the past 10 years in real life, and like, you know,
it's a little funny. More than I think, but yeah,
it's probably more than that. Yeah, it's dramatic. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It's been a lot lately, but
yeah, which is great. Like I wouldn't trade that for the world, honestly.
And so the reason this is an announcement is because there's some logistics with getting some of like the rewards set up. Like there's going to be some FAP stickers and like some like there's like a playmat gift bag. Yeah, I don't like FAP stickers either. I saw the face
it's
you guys
sticky
made.
on one side.
It is sticky on one side, but a FAP magazine is sticky on both pages. So
I here.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to. No, you're not. You're not fucking welcome to do it. No, you're not. You're not a free agent. Sorry. Yeah, you're locked into a lifetime deal.
And I wonder why I just saw our women listenership go down. Huh, weird.
That's a weird thing is that we don't, because Abbie just comes and slaps us whenever we start doing stupid shit, and they're just like, yep.
Yeah, that's a great point. But so there are a little bit of logistics work to work out with like the stickers, and there's like there was like a gift bag for some of the higher tiers, and there's like a playmat, like a Flesh and Pod playmat that doesn't even exist yet, but there's gonna be one. And like
there will be one.
There's you know like so there's some cool stuff, but you are gonna get access to things like at every tier, like access to our show notes and access to like getting shouted out on the show and like things like that. Kind of like in a thank you.
You can hope that I type the show notes because then they're way funnier.
They're way funnier because mine read like a legal memo and Logan's reads like this wasn't my fucking job.
Because it's not.
But this show is also an hour and 22 minutes long, and at this point, but it was funny. So, and we're going to tell you about this. So anyway, that's coming. Right.
Yes,
hopefully we get the logistics done this week is my goal. And like
and we have some conversations with some various listeners and stuff like that too about what they've thought about would be good inclusions. If you're in our Discord, Jeff O, please support him because he and his studio for his embroidery studio do some really cool shit. They also are the ones behind the James Whiteclaw koozies.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're ever curious about what amazing is, it's a James Whiteclaw koozie. But well, obviously that's we would like to pay everything that we do forward. So if you have a business that does any of these types of things or anything else, stickers or anything else, please let us know so that we have someone to go through that isn't one of Abbie's capitalistic overlords. So
right. Like come to the FAP community because we FAPers have a community.
We FAP together. Oh God damn it!
FAP together or not at all.
All right, we sure do.
Sure,
okay.
Nope.
Gotcha. Well, but I'm really excited about it. So
yes, we will keep you posted as we go through that, and then when we have an official launch date. So I guess
I'm sorry, Abbie.
Keep listening.
I'm sorry, Abbie. One more thing. One of the reasons that the Iowa crew cannot be trusted is because when we originally started discussing this back at I see your face, Logan. You're gonna remember this. Back at the call in Indianapolis, we asked a lot of the Iowa crew what they would like as Patreon rewards, and one of them said a calendar of Logan and I, like a swimsuit calendar of Logan.
Oh God! Yeah, that happened.
That
shit!
Won't be. See, this is an example of where I was the adult in the room. I kept that Airbnb from burning down.
You went to bed early, you dumb fuck. Do you understand what we did after you went to bed? Like, God, I'm surprised you ever got at least we know that Airbnb does not have cameras in it. Otherwise, you would never have gotten that 5-star review.
God, I don't even want to know. Rest in peace, Patty.
But he's still alive.
Well, rest in peace. But like they wanted to do a Jordan and Logan swimsuit calendar as like a basic tier, like $2 a month gets you this calendar.
We have to pay you at that point in time for your vision needs. So no.
Yeah, exactly. So but that is a funny aside, and I'm excited to do it. So sorry.
Okay, that is a good reason to distrust the Iowa crew. So I think I'm fine with it.
Exactly. All right. As always, you can find us on Twitter at FlushPod. You can join our Discord. The link will be in the show notes. You can give us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. You can do that now.
Or Podbean.
Yeah, that's right. I heard about that on last week's episode. So Podbean, there you go, folks.
Whatever the fuck a Podbean is.
If you can review it, do it. Like
do it. Oh,
that's right.
Okay.
You can like and subscribe on YouTube. We have an email at fleshandpod@gmail.com if you would like to reach out to us that way. My personal Twitter is at AbbieD83. I did do some tweeting this weekend, obviously, with my
victory.
My big event. I do have a couple notes for you guys. I kept this for the end from last week's show. So first one.
Okay.
No offense to anyone. Nobody does the outro as good as me. I'm sorry. I have that shit locked down.
Yeah, it sounds like a recording when you do it. It's the same every time. It's perfect.
It's consistent.
The second
no
notes.
One, and I just want to be very clear. I will not tolerate the pickle slander on here, and picklebacks are delicious. So let's just clear that out. No more. We only talk about...
have you had a pickleback to a Jameson shot?
Yes.
The fuck? Like, no. Just no.
Delicious.
Abbie, no.
Delicious.
We can get you and Elaine to do that all day long.
That's fine.
And have your fucking picklebacks. And
that's fine.
I'm done. Like, I did it once. I caught COVID from it. And then I decided I'm never doing it again. It wasn't anybody else's fault. It was definitely the pickleback.
I think so.
I will not have that slander.
100% caught COVID from a pickleback. I want to point out, of that crew that was at Topgolf, 2 people tested positive for COVID, and both of them did the JMO and pickleback. And anybody that didn't do the pickleback did not test positive.
Well, it just settles it.
There it is. That I will not tolerate on this show.
That's evidence.
It's not evidence.
Yeah, it's hard.
That is hard. Fox News would run that fucking story. That's how good that is.
Okay, are you proud of that?
No, why the fuck would I be proud of that?
You said it like it was the greatest thing.
I heard that if you do pickleback shots, you also think ivermectin cures COVID. That's what I heard.
Clearly.
That's my dagger. That's my dagger. Anyway. My Twitter, I am on Twitter at I'm Jerman. Tweet a lot of nonsense like this shit. There's a lot of sports on there too. So please come hang out. I'm down to talk really. Best place to get a hold of me, honest to God, is Discord. It's about to be a 3-beer show. I hear him lining it up over there.
No. We're good.
Okay.
It's tempting. I have one here ready to go, but I'm not going to do it.
But Twitter for sports, American politics, a lot of flesh and blood right now. Mostly fun stuff. American politics, bring it down a notch, but mostly fun stuff. Yeah, but mostly fun stuff. Logan, what about you?
At Logan Peterson, Petersen. Eventually, I think after episode 52, I'm going to stop spelling my last name. But on Twitter, I'm tweeting food, booze, and flesh and blood, really. That's about it. There's just way too many people in this community that are amazing to hang out with and interact with, and so I can't help myself but from using that hell site. So that's what I do, is I tweet. But yes, same as Jordan, the best way to get a hold of me is quite honestly via Discord. You send me a message, I reply to it. You tag me anything, I reply to it. You say that picklebacks are great. I
block you.
Tell you you're wrong. Well, I don't. How do you block your wife?
Google how to get a divorce in Franklin County, Ohio. Let's see.
You're a fucking attorney.
Yeah, I don't do that shit.
God damn it. At any rate,
you have friends that do that.
Yeah, this is why I have friends who are attorneys. I have 5. I counted it. It was 5.
This part is when I Google something and it says, make sure to contact an attorney before taking this advice as gospel. I'm like, God damn it.
Well, you did. You looked at yourself in the mirror and you told yourself it was right.
Yeah, that's right.
But yes, I'm very easy to find. I'm very interactive. I will reply to you. I am not as dialed up all the time as I am on this show, but it depends on what you say. If you start talking about things like picklebacks are great, you're probably going to dial me up. I want to be clear. Drinking just pickle juice on its own without booze involved, fine.
What the
little bit of pickle juice.
No, we don't capitulate with these people. We don't capitulate with these people.
A little bit of pickle juice and a spicy Bloody Mary, totally cool. A dirty martini. A dirty martini can do, which is olive juice, but still.
I don't like this appeasement strategy you're going.
However, the picklebacker is fucking demon semen, and I'm not here for it. So that's all I'm saying.
Pickles belong on a spicy chicken sandwich or otherwise in the garbage. I will not capitulate on this issue. I will not capitulate on this issue.
I mean, we'll throw hands.
All right. That is all we have for this week. That was the worst.
I'm a liberal from Ohio. I don't know how to fight. What are you talking about?
I'm a liberal from Iowa. Whatever.
You guys had to fight like bears and shit.
This is also true.
Okay. That is all we have for this week. We will see you this weekend. If you are at the Realm thing, hop in the Discord. We have the channel for any questions that you may have. And hopefully we see you this weekend. And if not, we'll talk to you next week. Bye.